Hello everyone, welcome to Ediora. My name is Ekta Tiwari and I am your faculty of General Laws. Today we are going to start with the topic which is Criminal Procedure Code 1973. Now, you all are aware that different type of crime and their punishment is given in IPC, which is Indian Penal Code. So CRPC talks about what? Means Criminal Procedure Code talks about how to deal with that crimes or those crimes, the procedure of the stages of crime to the judgment talks about comes under CRPC. See, India as a country has more than 1200 laws in existence. However, crimes in India are regulated by IPC, CRPC, and the Evidence Act. The criminal justice system in India is divided into two parts. First, substantive criminal laws. These laws provide for the punishment for the offenders by the extent of the crime committed. Then, the second part talks about the procedural law. This law provides a process for establishing the offender's guilt and imposing the punishment prescribed under the substantive criminal laws. I have already explained this in IPC and the Civil Procedure Code. But now I am explaining what is Indian Penal Code. The code covers various offenses divided into multiple categories and the related punishments for the crimes. Means the code covers offenses and also the punishment for the said offenses. For example, crime against the body, that is murder, kidnapping, culpable homicide, etc. Crimes against property, theft, dacoity, economic crimes, cheating and counterfeiting, and various other crimes. Now, what is Criminal Procedure Code? The code is the procedural law which provides a detailed procedure for punishment under the penal laws. It thereby enforces and administers the Indian Penal Code and various other substantive criminal laws. Criminal Procedure Code is read along with the IPC and the Indian Evidence Act. Now, what is the difference between the Indian Penal Code and the Criminal Procedure Code? Let's us now look at the differences between the two legislations. Difference between the IPC and the Criminal Procedure Code. IPC is a substantive law. What is substantive law? I already told you. Indian Penal Code is a substantive law of crimes, whereas Criminal Procedure Code is a procedural law. IPC states various crimes and classifies them into multiple categories. The code also prescribes the penalties and the punishment for the respective offenses. On the other hand, the Criminal Procedure Code defines the procedure that the police take to investigate any violation after having committed any crime which is mentioned under the penal laws. The IPC aims to provide a primary penal code in the country for giving punishment to the wrongdoers. On the other hand, the Criminal Procedure Code's main motive is to do what? Is to provide for binding procedures that must be enacted during the administration of a criminal trial. Criminal Procedure Code 1973 provides for the courts and the magistrates' powers, while the Indian Penal Code does not. Let us now take an example to understand the difference between the IPC and the CRPC between the legislations better. Easy. For example, easy to kill Matthew enters in his house and murders him by hitting him with a hammer and slitting his throat. Section 300 of the IPC 1860 defines what? Murder. And Section 302 of the code prescribe the punishment for the murder. There is a difference, punishment and the definition of murder. So the section specifies that any person who commits the act will be punished with death or the life imprisonment. Now, how will Easy be punished for the crime committed? Murder is a non bailable and cognizable offense. The Criminal Procedure Code 1973 specifies a procedure to be followed to determine the offender's guilt, whether or not the bail will be granted, evidence to be taken into account, trial, investigation, and impose the individual penalty. Now, the Code of Criminal Procedure was repealed by the Code of 1973, enacted by Parliament on 25th January 1974 and made effective from 1st April 1974. Criminal Procedure Code is an act to consolidate and amend the law relating to criminal procedure. Now, when will the CRPC attract? When? When a person has committed an offense, means offense is important, then only the CRPC will attract. Now, company secretaries and the secretarial profession would have relatively less to do with a code of criminal procedure than with other procedural laws, except for safeguarding against incurring of liability for criminal offences by directors, secretary, manager, or other principal officer under different companies and the corporate and industrial laws. Criminal Procedure Code means a CRPC is an act to consolidate and amend the law relating to the procedure to be followed in apprehending the criminal, the first stage, investigating the criminal cases, and their trial before the criminal courts. Now, what is this act? Act is what? Is a decision passed into law. What is code then? Code, on the other hand, is a collection of already existing laws. Code is the combination of already existing laws. Code is superior than act. So this is Criminal Procedure Code. So basically, when a new state is formed, when a state is divided, then the code is formed. Now, the important term, offense. Offense means what? Offense means an act or omission which is punishable by any law, and you are doing it, then it will be called as offense. Now see our module language. Offense means what? Offense to mean any act or omission which you are doing is made punishable by law for the time being in force, and it includes any act in respect of which a complaint may be made. Offense is what? Offense is what the legislature classes as punishable. Now, for every offense, a mens rea should be present. Now, what is this mens rea? Mens rea means your bad intention, because act is never right or wrong. It is the intention. Intention is here. Intention. Act is never right or wrong. It is the intention with which such act is done. So for guilty mind, bad intention should be present. Are you getting me? Mens rea is a bad intention or guilt is an essential ingredient in every offense. You must have heard in movies, they keep on asking, "Are you guilty? Are you guilty?" So, if the offender will reply, "Yes, I am guilty," then the further proceedings will start. To understand mens rea, please watch Criminal Justice. Best example of mens rea in that movie. So, basically, it's on Netflix. Do watch. Mens rea means what? A guilty mind. The fundamental principle of penal liability is embodied in the maxim actus non fecit rem nisi mens sit re. Little bit confusing, but what is this? Act is never right or wrong. It is the intention with which such act is done. The act itself does not constitute guilt unless it's done with a guilty intent. To give an example, imagine two drivers who end up hitting and killing a pedestrian. Driver 1 never saw the person until it was too late, tried his best or her best to brake, but could do nothing to stop the accident and, in fact, ended up killing the pedestrian. Driver 1 is still liable, but likely only in civil court for monetary damages because his intention was not bad. But driver 2, on the other hand, had been out looking for a pedestrian and upon seeing him, steered towards him, hit the gas pedal and slammed into him, killing him instantly. Driver 2 here is probably criminally liable because he intended to kill the pedestrian, or at least he intended to cause a serious bodily harm to the person. Even though the pedestrian is killed in both the scenarios, the outcome is same, murder. The intent of both the driver was very different and their punishments will be substantially different as a result. Thus, mens rea means unless an act is done with a guilty intention, it will not be criminally punishable. Keep in mind. The general rule to be stated is there must be a mind at fault because before there can be a crime, mind must be at fault. Mens rea is a subjective matter. Mens rea is an essential ingredient in every criminal offense. See, offenses can be of four types. The first, bailable offense, or you can call it as non-cognizable offense. What is this? Bailable offense means an offense which is shown as bailable in the first schedule or which is made bailable by any other law for the time being in force. So, bailable offense means what? Means bailable offense, accused can be set free. Accused can be set free in bailable offense. He can get bail. Okay. Now, non-cognizable offenses means what? Or you can say bailable offense also. So, are those where a police officer, I am repeating, non-cognizable offenses are called as a bailable offenses where a police officer cannot arrest the accused without the warrant. Warrant is very important as listed under first schedule of the Indian Penal Code. These are usually not as serious as cognizable offenses. What is cognizable offenses? Such as forgery, cheating, defamation, non-bailable. Cognizable offenses means any other offense. What is this any other offense? Means accused cannot be said imprisonment is for 3 years. Accused cannot be set free in this offense. Imprisonment is for 3 years or more in case of non-bailable offense, which is also called as cognizable offenses. Now, few examples such as murder, an offense against the body, dacoity, etc., does not require a warrant and police can arrest the offender for further investigation for a successful prosecution and thus the offense is considered as what? cognizable. The trick to remember is cognizable means non-bailable. Non-cognizable means bailable. So it may be observed from the first schedule that non-cognizable offences are usually bailable, while cognizable offences are generally non-bailable, in which imprisonment is for less than 3 years because they are bailable. Now, under CRPC, cognizable offense is discussed under section 154. CRPC define it to be an offense in which the police officer can arrest the convict without a warrant and can start investigation without the due permission of the court. Like I told you, murder. So these are the offenses that are usually very serious and generally heinous in nature. For example, rape, murder, kidnapping, dowry death, etc. All cognizable offenses are non-bailable due to their serious and heinous nature. Non-cognizable offenses. It refers to it as an offense for which a police officer has no authority to arrest without a warrant. Warrant is important here. These are the offenses that are not serious or usually petty in nature. For example, assault, cheating, forgery, defamation. Non-cognizable offenses are usually bailable because of their non-serious nature. In cognizable cases, the punishment period is usually more than 3 years, going up to the life imprisonment or death penalty as they are serious in nature. After offense, next important term is complaint. Complaint means any allegation made orally or in writing to a magistrate with a view to his taking action under this code that some person, whether he is known or unknown, has committed an offense, but it does not include a police report. However, a report made by the police officer in a case which discloses after investigation the commission of non-cognizable offense shall be deemed to be a complaint and the police officer making the report as a complainant. Police report is expressly excluded from the definition of complaint. Okay, but section which is explanation to section 2D makes it clear that police report shall be deemed to be a complaint where after the investigation it discloses a commission of a non-cognizable offenses, means a bailable offenses. Complaint in a criminal case is what a plaint is in a civil case. I already explained in civil procedure code what is plaint. So a complaint in a criminal case is what a plaint is in a civil case. Now, what is the requisites of a complaint? See, an oral or written allegation should be there. It must be made to whom? To a magistrate. Complaint. Complaint against whom? Some known or unknown person who has committed an offense. It must be made to a magistrate and it must be made with the object that the magistrate should take action. There is no particular format of a complaint. Next is bail. Bail means what? It means the release of the accused from the custody of the officers of law and entrusting him to the private custody of a person. I'm repeating, entrusting him to the private custody of a person who are giving his surety, who are sureties to produce the accused to answer the charge at the stipulated time or date. Means they are giving guarantee that whenever you'll call the accused, we will come with the accused. Private persons who act as a surety to produce the accused whenever called by the police officer to answer the charge at the stipulated time or date. Now, Bail is based on some factors. Before granting a bail, the court considered some of the factors like nature of the alleged offense, means it is serious or non-serious, the past criminal history of the accused. You must have seen about the Salman's case, okay, the hit and run case. Personal status, okay, the past court appearances, tampering with the evidence, how much there are chances of tampering with the evidences, winning over the witnesses. Now, anticipatory bail. Anticipatory bail is what? It's granted only the High Court, only by the High Court or a court of session. If a person who apprehends, means anticipates arrest or having committed a non-bailable offense but has not yet been arrested, means if a person who apprehends, means anticipates that he can be arrested, is not arrested yet, he can be arrested for a non-bailable offense in future, then he can apply before only for the anticipatory bail. Anticipatory bail is literally applied for in anticipation of the arrest. It is a direction to release a person on bail issued even before the person is arrested. It is a direction, okay? It is a direction, it is issued even before the person is arrested. So, if the accused has a reason to believe, if I am accused and I have a reason to believe that I may be arrested on accusation of having committed a non bailable offense, then he or she has a right to apply for an anticipatory bail in the session court or the High Court. One may apply for anticipatory bail after learning about a criminal complaint made against him to the police by their wife, for example, or by any threats made by her family against themselves and their family. So you can take a anticipatory bail in advance. Okay. See, 3 stages in CRPC means there are 3 stages in criminal proceedings. Now, what is this stages? Investigation, inquiry, and trial. Investigation, inquiry, and trial. The 3 terms, investigation, inquiry, and trial, denote 3 different stages of a criminal case. The first stage is reached when a police officer, either on his own or under the orders of a magistrate, I am repeating, the first stage means the investigation stage is reached when a police officer, either on his own or under the orders of a magistrate, investigate into the case. If he finds that no offense has been committed, he submits his report to the magistrate. Okay, if he finds that no offense has been committed by the person, then he'll submit his report to the magistrate and who will drop the proceedings, means stop the proceedings. So, if accused is not guilty and it's stated in report by the police officer, then court will immediately stop the proceedings. But if he is of different opinion, the opposite one, means if he is guilty then, but if he is of different opinion and the accused is guilty, then he will do what? He sends that case to a magistrate, then begins the second stage, a trial or an inquiry against the person. Court will do trial and inquiry, but the magistrate may deal with the case himself and either convict the accused or discharge or acquit him. In serious offenses, the trial is before the sessions court, which may either discharge or convict or acquit. Acquit means what? To release the accused. Now, what is this judicial proceedings? It includes any proceedings in the course of which evidence is or may be legally taken on oath. It is any proceedings, judicial proceedings. It includes inquiry and trial, but not investigation, because Investigation is done by whom? Police officer, not by court. Next is inquiry. After investigation, there is an inquiry, the second stage. It means every inquiry other than a trial conducted under this code by a magistrate or a court. Inquiry is different from a trial in criminal matters. Inquiry is wider than trial. What is the difference between the inquiry and the trial? Inquiry is wider term than trial. Trial is what? Trial follows the inquiry. See, investigation, then inquiry, then trial. So, inquiry is what? It stops when the trial begins. Inquiry will stop when the trial begins. Trial is the third stage. Okay, students, now it's time to conclude the session. The object of this session is to familiarize you all with the Criminal Procedure Code, and there are other things which I taught you about the stay of suits, about the summary trials, about the arrest warrant. I hope the session was informative and valuable to you. This is Ekta Tiwari, Faculty of General Laws, signing off. Until then, keep watching, keep learning. Ediora, thank you.